right, that's enough go for now, right? Hey, and welcome back to Transparent Conversations, Elevated Exchanges. I am your boy, Calvin, CPJR or CPJR 300, if you feel me. Welcome back to my Substack. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome back to what I do right now, talking about what's happening to this country and the group of people that are taking us to a place we've never been before. This is a YouTube channel. This is a Substack where I talk about things that I want to talk about. I used to talk about fun things like polyamory, ethical non-monogamy, mindfulness, all those type of things. And, you know, I was talking about how it played out in my life and how it worked for me back then. I still am a polyamory, but I still am polyamorous, but that's not really where I'm at right now. Right now, since 2025, I can't think about nothing else but, I guess I got Trump derangement syndrome. I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing, but it might be something that I have, because I can't stop thinking about the craziness. But then really, right now, when we think about it, it's just a little bit more crazier than it's ever been before, because nothing is making any sense. Everything has been exposed. If you don't really see this time as transformational, because we can't go back to the way it was with either side, Republicans or Democrats. Basically, something has happened. It happened over time, and it's not about the country anymore. It's about them, and we see it every day. Or it's about them or whoever the sponsors are, right? We got a lot of people who are taking a lot of money to do things that have nothing to do with this country. So right now, if you've been here before and if you're new here, please take a moment to either like or subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to do more. I'm trying to get better at this. I'm trying to be informative and give you information that you may not hear if you only are into mainstream media. I would say that right now, if you're watching mainstream media, you're definitely not really informed. There's a lot of things going on that are not being talked about on mainstream media. There's a lot of independent media outlets out there on YouTube. I talk about them all the time. I share them on this channel, and I talk about how the framing that you're getting from mainstream media will lead you to believe that this is all normal, when the system that most of us grew up with in this country is no longer there. We really can't count on it. I mean, you got to the point where you reversed the voting rights. You took the teeth out of the Voting Rights Act, and then the first thing that the Republican in these states, Louisiana, Alabama, Tennessee, all the red states that were in the Confederacy, are going right back to doing what they were doing before, which is totally ignoring black people and treating them as if they're not citizens and that they don't deserve representation, and they're racing to the bottom. And then look at what I want you to do, right, is when you see these states and they're doing their redistricting and all this type of stuff, and they're talking about how they have to do it now, it's more important. They have to stop the ongoing election to redistrict and then go back and vote all the black representation away. So look at where they stand in education. Like whether they rank in education in the United States, and it's always the bottom 10. Always the bottom 10. So they don't really care about their population for real, because they don't have a good education system. Why would you not have a good education system if you think that that the black people are holding you back from it? I mean, what happened? Why isn't education a priority, and why aren't you in the top? I mean, there's 50 states, right? To be in the top 10, you have to really be bad, and then that's how we get these things where, DEI is bad. We need to do everything in this country to get rid of trans. I don't know. It's just how it is. It's always going to be that way. I don't think it's going to change, especially if we don't win the next election. This midterm election is going to have It's going to shape the country, basically, because we're already in a different system, right? We're in an authoritarian system. The president and the Republicans simply do what they want to do and then worry about it on the back end. We have laws in place that we actually weren't ever going to be able to enforce, but we just agreed that these laws were in place because they would help the whole country rise. But they've decided that these laws are a waste of time. They're not for them, and they need to go back to what they had before. We were working on. I mean, nothing's gonna happen. Nothing's good gonna come from it because I don't. It's like going back to a bad relationship or a relationship that you thought was good that was really bad. You keep going back there because you can't process what really happened. You keep thinking that was good, right? Like I don't even know John Roberts, all these guys on the Supreme Court. I don't know what they're thinking was good, but it wasn't. You're gonna get slapped in the face. You got slapped in the face from the woman. Sorry, you got slapped in the face the first time, and now you want to go back and get slapped in the face the second time. There was no good time. America was not great back then, so that's where we're headed to. So I want to go ahead and get started on the Republican laws I want to highlight today. We're gonna be doing this from now on. I know I missed 2 weeks, but we're gonna be doing this from now on. I think it's gonna be Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. Right now it's Wednesday, so Friday I'll be back on Monday, unless something pops up. Right, I will pop up and talk about something that's ridiculous if I deem it necessary. With everything that's happening, I mean, just today, they're cutting off Medicaid payments again to California. I mean, they just keep doing these things. I think for the whole country. I'm not sure, but it's just like, okay, and then we're gonna go to court, and then you're gonna pay it. What's the point of these people? Just today, the president said he doesn't really care about your finances. He's more concerned about stealing money. I mean, that's basically what he really wanted to say. He couldn't say it though, but we know his really. I mean, I don't judge people what they say. I judge them by what they do, right? So this man has increased his money. He's increased his net worth by being in the presidency. He was gonna be broke, but the first time he elected, didn't get the real money. This time, he's going for broke. So let's go ahead and get started. Before I do that, I want to say we do have a sponsor now, Big Fork Brands. We know that it's getting warm outside, and it's time to start looking out for some barbecue. Right, time to start getting the barbecue plans ready, the cookout plans ready. We know you're gonna have some ribs. You may have some beef and some pork ribs. We know you're gonna have some hot dog, hamburgers. Get a little fancy, some shrimp. Some chicken, maybe some little fish. I like doing some steak. I like doing kebabs. I also like doing what's that thing called? Burnt ends, poor man burnt ends and chuck roast. I like doing veggies. I like doing everything. But one thing I know I have to have my hot dogs. Not for me. I have to have them too, but my mother, she has to have her hot dogs, and my father has to have his sausages, right? And one thing about it, we like good sausages. We don't have a particular brand of sausages we like. We like all different kinds of sausages. And right now, I've teamed up with these lovely folks at BigForkBrands.com. Right here, you can see the website. They'll be in the show notes, and they sell these delicious sauces. This gangster sauce is one I really want to try. And they have these different sausages. They have also, not only do they have sauces, they have different. I'm on the website right now. You can see it on your screen. And it's a real site. It's a real site, a real company. They have these delicious sauces. They also have like bacon flavored hot dogs. They have all kind of deals. Deals are not bad, but right now, if you use my code word Elevate, you'll get 20% off. I'll give you a little taste. You'll get a little taste, and we have something to talk about at the cookout. We're gonna have all kinds of sausages. These sauces. I want to try this. This gangster one, and I want to try the other one on the side, the Chicago sauce on a hot dog. So to get these, put them out, on the concession table with the ketchup. And some people are gonna want some new good stuff, some different things. So go ahead and do that. It's not like that expensive either. That's the thing about it. But they also offer wholesale prices. So we know that all of us are trying to do side hustles. We know some of y'all are good cooks. We know y'all sell plates. All right. You know y'all sell them flutes. Don't infuse this. Okay. This is for just regular people. Okay. These prices aren't bad. Right. This is for a case. This is for a case, and right now it's 20% off. So anyway, use my code Elevate. Get yourself some good food, and enjoy. You know, I'm gonna try to keep coming. I got some other things coming too, and I'm gonna try to keep that happening for you. Use my code word Elevate. Get yourself some good sausages. Get yourself some jerky, and help out a small company. Help out me. All right, so we're gonna get started right now. I think I got some on my screen. I can't get off my screen. Okay, we're gonna get started right now on what's next. I ain't talking about that go-go band. I do apologize. That actually was a young go-go band actually, and he was just putting it in the pocket. And the blue group was called Fat Out, and they call him Young. Or maybe he might not. His name might not be Young. They might just say that's Young and Fat Out. All right. So let's get started. All right, we're going to talk about the lies. First one I'm going to talk about, there's just so much going on. It's just ridiculous. And I hope that you're paying attention. From what I see, a lot of people aren't. I know a lot of people in my family aren't really paying attention to what's happening. And thank you for Big Fork Brands for giving me this chance to represent them. All right, so first one, Trump is not your ally. So Trump, everybody who works for Trump ends up either in jail, broke, or something like that. And this is actually kind of a hard one to really think about, because I'm not a fan of this man. But I don't like seeing people suffer, but I think he brought it upon himself. He had money, but then he threw it all away.
So Rudy Giuliani is now begging for free government health care. He's in the hospital, and his lawyers are rushing to sign him up for the World Trade Center health program, the same program that his party has been trying to destroy. House Republicans voted against the plan, and Senate Republicans filibustered the program. They held hostage sick first responders so that they could get tax cuts for the wealthy. Jon Stewart had to embarrass Congress on national television before they would actually sign the bill. And when first responders showed up in wheelchairs to lobby Congress, Rudy Giuliani was nowhere to be found. He said nothing, he did nothing while they begged for care. And his party has been trying to defund and dismantle this program since it started, including this year when Doge gutted their staff and they briefly had to stop providing cancer treatments. And now that Rudy Giuliani is broke and sick, he's the one begging for care from a program that the Democrats built and the Republicans tried to destroy. This is what they do. They want to say never forget 9/11. We'll never forget who Rudy Giuliani really is, because he deserves the health care that his party thinks the first responders deserve.
So that man was Trump's lawyer, right? And he is broke and in the hospital and trying to get health care. That doesn't make any sense. Like, he can't call, but he hasn't. He's no longer any value to Trump. So therefore, Trump is very transactional. So now he's just sitting there sick and dead. I mean, in the hospital, hoping that he could get some health care. I don't understand how you actually do that. And it's just talking about. I just want to talk about these are sections what I'm calling like Trump is not your ally, right? Everything that we, I don't know the people that I understand billionaires. I understand people that are making money off of Trump right now because they making money. Oil profits are up, so they're making money. We're not making money because it was never about us. He just said that today. So this is just another. How bad it's going to be, and think about what happened, because we have a chance to get not correct this, but take a step towards correcting this if we just vote right in the next. If they allow us to vote right. I mean, there's no guarantee that we'll even get a chance to vote. I'm not being alarmist. I think that it's written correctly in the Constitution, but the methods that they're already trying, this what's it they call it? The I don't know, some kind of army. Election integrity. I don't know. Army. That's what he's going to dispatch. It's going to be large. And I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what they don't have a right to do anything. So I don't know what they're going to think they're going to come into our states and do. So be ready for that. But this is from a speech from someone from the Brennan Center, just to say how things have gotten so bad. We've already heard just today that there is a payback squad at the FBI.
For the first time in our nation's history, the primary threats to our democracy emanate from the executive branch of the federal government. The Trump administration is engaged in a concerted campaign to undermine our elections, and a number of those tactics used in that campaign involve the abuse of law enforcement authority. The president himself has repeatedly called for the prosecution of election officials who administered the 2020 election. In February, the FBI conducted a raid in Fulton County, Georgia, seizing ballots and election records from the 2020 election pursuant to a warrant that was based in conspiracy theories. And the Department of Justice has for the last year been engaged in a widespread effort to collect personal voter information from states in order to compile a national voter file. These abuses of law enforcement to undermine our elections, when taken together with the use of ICE and CBP to spread fear in our city's streets, have understandably raised concerns that we will see ICE or CBP deployed to interfere in our elections in November. And in fact, President Trump has alluded to the idea of deploying federal agents to election locations in years past. And his former advisor and close ally, Steve Bannon, as we've just heard, has repeatedly dropped similar hints within the past year. It is important to keep in mind that part of the point of comments like those we've heard from Steve Bannon is to sow fear. In fact, that is one of the main tactics of the administration's campaign to undermine our elections, to undermine public faith in democracy.
So that just shows you, like, that's like their shift. They say this country is an authoritarian country because they aren't even thinking about doing anything correctly. Like, I already think that, in my opinion, my uneducated opinion, they've already committed voter intimidation. And voter suppression. I mean, just saying things like that, and most people will be scared and fearful about coming to the poll. I encourage everyone, as I do. In fact, we started receiving ballots here for the primary because we were all registered to vote by mail. So you get the ballot, you fill it out, you put it in a box, or you put it in the mail. It's there, it's done. You don't have to worry about the day of what might happen. I mean, they may try to just take the ballots, but we're gonna go right into the next one because this is about how the government, the Justice Department, is no longer ours. I don't know who it belongs to, but it doesn't belong to us anymore. Because they have totally changed the definition of. They're trying to change the definition of crime, only because it seems like, in their minds, only Democrats can commit crimes.
The White House just released its 2026 counterterrorism strategy. And on page 5, it names 3 categories of terror groups: narco-terrorists and gangs, Islamist terrorists, and violent left-wing extremists, including anarchists and anti-fascists. And then on page 7, it commits the government to map them all at home, identify their membership, trace their ties to international organizations like Antifa, and cripple them operationally. And that's what the document says. Just read it yourself. But then, when you read it, notice what's missing. Right-wing and white nationalist violence is not minimized in the new strategy.
Which is the real violence.
Gone. The category that DHS and FBI analysts under Republican and Democratic administrations both, including the first Trump administration, repeatedly identified as the largest source of domestic terror fatalities, has been removed from the threat picture. Removed and replaced. Replaced with what? Replaced with who? With anti-fascists, with anarchists, with people the document also calls radically pro-transgender and anti-American. Replaced with a category defined not by what people do, but by what they believe. That's what the document is doing. So let's talk about it. Hey folks, I'm Tad Sturmer. I'm a public historian and the author of A Resistance History of the United States. When the authors of a counterterrorism document treat opposition to fascism as a category to be mapped, surveilled, and broken, they're telling you what they expect to need protection from. We have a long American record of this kind of thing. The Alien and Sedition Acts, the Palmer Raids, the Red Scare, the Lavender Scare, McCarthy and the loyalty boards, Hoover and COINTELPRO, the post 9/11 surveillance regime. Men with state power decided that dissent was subversion, that protest was extremism, that political opponents were threats. The country eventually figured out it had been lied to, but by the time it did, real people had lost real years, real careers, and in some cases, their lives. I don't think that the people writing this document are unaware of all that.
No,
I think they've
they know
studied
what
it.
they're
I think they appreciate it. So spare me the bad faith reading. No serious person defends political violence. Bomb a building, prosecute. Shoot someone, prosecute. Conspire to harm, prosecute. The United States has never lacked laws for any of that.
Right.
What it lacks is the discipline to stop calling political opposition terrorism. Anti-fascism is not a crime. Supporting trans people is not a crime.
I'm trying to understand that.
Criticizing the United States, not a crime. Telling the truth about American history, it's not a crime. But what the authors of this document are doing is putting real threats, cartels, fentanyl, political violence, state-sponsored attacks, in the same bucket as ideological opponents, and then label the bucket terror and ask the country to applaud while this regime reaches for power it wasn't given. Cartels and anti-fascists are not the same problem. Anyone telling you that they are is not solving a problem, they're building one. And before anyone tells me this is sober national security analysis, the document ships with 4 uncorrected typos, no defined terms for any of its targeting categories, and a foreword that quotes the president saying, "We will find you and we will kill you." Sebastian Gorka, that guy, he used the rollout briefing to call critics of the administration's war on Iran testicularly challenged. The seriousness is not there, the intelligence is not there, the targeting, though, is there. Historians know what this is, and it's not new. And what's also not new is where it leads. That's all I got for today, folks. Alonzi.
Alonzi. Alonzi, that's from Doctor Who. If you know, you know. So real quick, that's just like the thing is they aren't policing anything and they can't prove it. I mean, look at the cases. The only thing, if you're doing a podcast or a YouTube channel, running a YouTube channel like this, you could be targeted. You didn't violate any laws. I mean, we've gotten past the anti-Semitic thing with Israel. Oh, I mentioned that. What I'm going to say about that? But you know, I'm not going to say anything about them at all. I promise. So you know, I mean, you could say things that you feel without being labeled something and locked up. Although people in London are being locked up for anti-Semitism, they're writing it into the books. How you can't talk about Israel if you talk negative about Israel. Anything Israel's doing is labeled anti-Semitism. But they can't prove it because this country has the law is the law. Now, if they win some of these cases that they're trying to get, that's when you start to worry. But if you still put out content or talk like this in a certain way, you still have to really be ready that they may probe you. Not like they may probe who you are, not stick a probe in you, but you have to be ready for it if that comment comes. I don't know what to say. I remember when I first started this, I wasn't working. I was worried about that a company may, not want to employ me because of something that I said. I'm not saying anything wrong. I'm saying my opinion. And you have a right to try to... That's your problem. You have a right to... What the heck? I think my eyes are bad. I'm sorry. You have a right to not... You have a right to just not, associate with me, not give me a job because of the way I believe or how on the words I say or my outlook on life. But the government has no right to prosecute you. That's what freedom of speech is all about. You're free from prosecution of the government because we're allowed to have an opinion. I mean, that's how we were brought up. You can't just reverse that in a 3 years or a term. All right, so we got one more. I think that's it. We're gonna go on now. I'm gonna talk about. We're going back to we're going to racism now. We're going to racism. The lie in this country is that this country isn't a racist. The lie in this country is that it's not a racist country, but it keeps going back to racism. Right? This is an interesting video of somebody who doesn't actually know what happened or what's happened in the past, and that's the problem of these states that are down in the bottom 10% of the country. I mean, you can't really be teaching them anything if they keep saying things like this.
People start a functioning black community. Like we would leave you to it. We would be, oh my.
Portsmouth, Ohio, Leandit, Michigan, Pollock, Louisiana, Salina, Tennessee.
Pause right there if you don't know. She's naming the black townships or settlements or cities back in the day that have been destroyed because white people won't leave us alone. That's all I'm saying. Just leave us alone.
Comanche County, Texas, Paragould, Arkansas, Lexington, Oklahoma, Blackwell, Oklahoma, Monette, Missouri, Linton, Indiana, Elwood, Indiana, Wilmington, North Carolina. Not just a racial expulsion, not just a massacre, but also the only coup d'etat recorded in U.S. history.
They did do that.
Pana, Illinois, Carterville, Illinois, Mena, Arkansas, Pierce City, Missouri, Decatur, Indiana, Joplin, Missouri, Sour Lake, Texas, Harrison, Missouri, Cotter, Arkansas, Marshall County, Kentucky, Anna and Jonesboro, Illinois, Forsyth County, Georgia. This is the foundation of Lake Lanier. East St. Louis, Illinois, Irwin, Tennessee, Corbin, Kentucky, Ocoee, Florida, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Greenwood, aka Black Wall Street, a thriving black neighborhood,
Tulsa.
Destroyed. Bombs were dropped. Hundreds of people murdered. Thousands of families left homeless. Jay, Florida, Rosewood, Florida, also destroyed because black people were doing better than white people. Blandford, Indiana, Manhattan Beach, California, Vienna, Illinois, Sheridan, Arkansas. This is just a list I found with a quick fucking Google, and it's not complete, and I know that because this is what I do. I research white violence in the United States. Because as a white person in the United States, I know that everything you just said is a fucking lie. You gotta pick up a book, my friend. You have to pick up a book before you record things. And I'm gonna put some in the caption for you to do a little bit of homework, right? Because white Americans have never allowed black Americans to live in peace a day in their fucking lives. A day in their lives. Oh, and by the way, that list doesn't mention any of the neighborhoods flattened and destroyed by the summer of 1919. That list doesn't mention a single neighborhood taken by eminent domain by the U.S. government. That goddamn near exclusively hits black American families and other very, very, very poor communities, but it is very much focused on black American families. So pick up a book, and then we'll revisit this conversation. Thanks.
People start a functioning black community. Like we would leave.
So that's just basically it. That's it. We're like, you could tell this is a racist country by how fast they want to redistrict to all red. They just want to be a red block. They want to go. The Confederacy is alive, and you will see it in action. Especially if we lose this next election. All right, it's gonna be. It's real. It's real, and I think a lot of people just acting like it's not real. So this is another interesting video I want to talk about. It's about Jim Crow, and the reason that he thinks we're now in a worse situation than Jim Crow because we didn't know nothing back then. Now we know. Now it's known. They're doing it. It's no pretense. It's just now they just doing it because they don't want to. We're not even are we the largest minority in this country now? I think it's not even us now. It'd be Spanish, but I mean not Spanish, Hispanic. Or Latino, or however you want to say it, but that's what I'm saying though. Like this is from old. This is like get back. They on some get back shit right now.
Over the last few days, I've heard that we're living in Jim Crow. So as a history creator, I thought it'd be irresponsible of me to not even try to back up those claims using history. So I did, and my response to that is not something that I think you would think it might be. I do not think that we're living in Jim Crow. I think we're living in something much worse. That's not voter suppression. That's voter dilution. This video is going to be a little bit different than the ones that I normally do. I am just going off the dome. This is what I've researched. I have no cute, fancy, setup. This is just, it is what it is. But we got to talk about it. But hold your horses because we will get there, but we just have to start somewhere else. Because redrawing districts and congressional maps is nothing new. It's a tactic that's been used for decades. And I'm going to take you to 1980s Alabama. But first, we have to talk about what Jim Crow is and how we got here. The 14th and 15th Amendment was passed. It gave black men the right to vote, to be equal citizens. Now, this did not include black women because we haven't got there yet where women had the right to vote. Fast forward to Reconstruction, and now you have black men earning office and being representatives and changing the landscape of the country in real time. Some were appointed, some were voted in, but nonetheless, the country was diversifying in a way that the majority did not like. Just because slavery was over doesn't mean that racism left with it. So this is when Jim Crow was established. You had literacy tests, poll taxes, economic retaliation, physical retaliation, intimidation, anything you can think of. They just wanted to make sure that black men could not show up to the polls and vote, because voter suppression was the tactic. Because black people were going to go to those polls, they were going to vote, and they had the numbers to actually assign representation that aligned with their interests. That was a problem. Representation was a direct problem to total control. Right. Disenfranchisement was the greatest tool used for people who did not want to see the South or the country change. This ushered in the Civil Rights era, which eventually led to the 1965 Voting Rights Act being passed. This banned discriminatory voting practices.
Hold up 1 second. So I'm gonna tell you something right now, because when at first black people were getting elected to office, they were getting elected to office by white people. And then by black people, they were like coalitions. They're like, we don't want. But then there's some ones that just can't do it. But then there's some ones who want to do it. Okay, because a good leader is a good leader. I don't care, black, white, women. I've had my best supervisors have been women. I've had some guys I really appreciate, but it never really a bad manager was a bad manager. A bad leader is a bad leader, regardless of color. Some of my worst managers. My worst manager was a black manager, a guy. But just think about it though. At first, they did this because of reputation, because black people were getting elected to office.
Strengthened the 15th Amendment and also added federal protections. One of those protections was pre-clearance. This is important because it required jurisdictions with histories of discrimination to have to get federal approval to change voting practices. This was a landmark law, and this is also why people thought that Jim Crow died when this was passed. But it didn't die, it evolved. Now, people could not just outright deny black voters or minority voters the ability to vote. So they had to change their tactics, and they did. Voter suppression became voter dilution, and it worked its way up through the decades. Now, voter dilution was always present, it just wasn't the main goal. Now, it had to become the main goal. And it worked quietly in places like Mobile, Alabama, starting in 1911, all the way up into 1980 when it got called out publicly by black voters. The case of the city of Mobile versus Bolden actually caused Congress to act a couple years later. Here's why. Since 1911, the city of Mobile had a 3-person city commission system. These members were elected at large, which meant every single person in the city would vote for these commissioners. On paper, that sounds fair, until you get into how the city of Mobile was districted. Right. It never stopped black residents being able to vote. What it did do was dilute their voting power so that they never really got to choose who was representing their district. The majority did, and that's on purpose. Not the majority of their district, the entire city, a city that was already racially polarized. And it constantly left these black voters with people who weren't interested in their interests and would not work towards them either. The Supreme Court ruled against them because they said that there was no constitutional violation for discriminatory effect. They could not prove that. And these black voters had no federal protections to help them against systems and structures that they knew were working against them. Mobile had perfected the art of voter dilution. The city could always say that we gave black residents the right to vote. We didn't stop them from coming to the polls, and their voices mattered equally. Their system was designed to look neutral, and you could argue that. What it did, though, was water down the black vote because they knew that they did not have the majority across the city. Congress understood that danger in 1982. They amended Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. This allowed voters to challenge election systems that propped up discriminatory results as opposed to discriminatory action, because intent could not be proven. Results could. Mobile versus Bolden was vital to this decision. This case did something important. It exposed a system that was operating in plain sight. It also exposed the evolution of Jim Crow. Jim Crow went from they cannot vote to I can allow them to vote, but I refuse to let their vote have power. We see the evidence of this through 2 terms, one called cracking, one called packing. Cracking is when a district is split in order to reduce its power across the board. An example of packing is putting all the black voters into one district so that you reduce their power elsewhere. Now, does that sound familiar when it comes to these new maps and these new districts that are being drawn in real time across the country? The Voting Rights Act of 2026 does not have the same power that it used to have. That's because the Supreme Court has messed with key provisions like the ones found in Section 4. And this has happened over time. This one in particular did away with pre-clearance. Do you remember how important pre-clearance was? So I'll go back to the original question. Are we living in Jim Crow? And my answer remains unchanged. No, we are not living in Jim Crow. We're living in something much worse. And you can see that happening in Tennessee. You can see it happening in Virginia. You can see it happening through the last 2 decades, and you could see it happening most likely in the rest of the states to come. So my question to you and me is, why would they do this, and what are we going to do about it? And voter dilution is much more dangerous than voter suppression. Not only does it strip you of your voting power, but it wastes your time. And I say this as objectively as I can. History has the opportunity to repeat itself, but it also has the opportunity to be changed right now. The point is that if we say this is like Jim Crow, but the old version, then technically we are wrong.
Right.
This kind is wearing a completely different set of clothing.
'Cause out in the open.
It's cerebral, it's technical, it's strategic. It's a different kind of warfare. And that kind of awareness means that it cannot be fought the same kind of way. And the case of the city of Mobile versus Bolden proves it. So if you call yourself a person of integrity, what are you going to do about that?
I'm gonna make a podcast, but it's just like to show you. Okay, do y'all see? I've been working on my transitions, trying to be fancy. Also, I haven't had any mistakes. I'm working on it. But yeah, I mean, like, just try to think about going backwards to where we were, like, and the speed. I mean, the speed of them. It's just like, wow. It's just like the speed to which they are redistricting is crazy. The Democrats proposed you can't gerrymander. Anti-gerrymandering laws, they won't do it because they know that's the only way they can win. They can't win. You cannot have a state in the bottom of the education, ladder, in the bottom half of education for the country, and think that you're doing good by your people. It's just impossible unless you want your people dumb. And that's what they want you. I'm talking to you, MAGA, in the red states. They want y'all dumb. Y'all got dumb schools. But see, that's what it is, yo. And if if they try to teach you something, y'all can say it's indoctrination. And y'all just got yourselves hemmed up. You guys are really hemmed yourselves up, MAGA, because you've put yourselves to the point where learning is bad and being dumb is good. And just accepting what somebody tells you is good. That's just a weird place to be. All right, so we're going to shift a little bit because there's no way that I cannot talk about what's going on in the Middle East. We're still at a war-ish kind of thing. Not really a war, thank goodness, but we know who is at war. The country who is at war is Israel, and Israel is at war with the entire Middle East. I'm gonna say, like I always say, I'm not anti-Semitic. I don't know what a Semitic is. I can't be anti that. What I am is a good observer of what's happening in the news. You cannot be at war with a region for 40 years. It doesn't make any sense. If you're in a neighborhood and everybody keeps getting beat up and you the one keep doing the beat up, you're probably the problem. It's not their fault for being there because you don't want them there. They have a right to be there. And the fact that these other punk-ass countries won't say anything about it is ridiculous. But everybody is seeing the truth. That's what's happening now. And this is how they're talking now in the UN and these meetings. It's going to be a different time for America. Everything that we thought we were is gone.
I really want to ask, what moral authority does the United States, a country that's ruled by the Epsteins, have over my country, a country that has lifted over 800 million people out of poverty? What moral authority does Britain, a country that arrested over 12,000 of its own people for posting online, have to lecture us about civil liberties? And what moral authority do NATO countries that preach human rights in this very chamber while turning a blind eye on the Zionist genocide in Gaza have to tell us what justice looks like? We will not be silenced by nations that treat human rights as bargaining chips, a tool of foreign policy. We will not accept lectures from governments that use human rights as weapons while their own hands are stained with the blood of Palestinians and Iranians they choose to forget. And we will not rest until every nation in this chamber is held to the same standard, until hypocrisy crumbles, genocide is met with action, and peace is no longer a word we speak, but a world we build. Thank you, Mr. President.
Hey, thank you, Mr. President. That clip. That's his clip. That's his lifetime speech. But he's definitely right, and that's how other countries are going to start talking to the United States, because we're not a world leader. But somehow we decided to join up or team up with Putin and all these other right-wing people who are losers. You'll see something about them. For what? We're not getting anything. Everybody knows this is wrong, right? Anybody that's telling you that this is right is either getting paid by it or they're just dumb. We just gotta call it like it is. They are dumb. On to the next video. This is going to be another. The people are speaking out because the lies were all done. He said Epstein ruled by the Epsteins, and the Epsteins are directly linked to Israel, and that's AIPAC, and that's, oh my God, I got a video about Fetterman. AIPAC must be stopped. If I'm scared of anybody on this earth, it's AIPAC. It's Israel coming after me. That's the people we need to worry about. Because they don't care about the law. They don't care about the law. They don't care about your life. All they want is what they want, and then you're in the way.
Your division of the violence and imperialist brutality that America has committed and the capitalist international order that we uphold is entirely artificial and farcical. The blood on our hands was spilt in service of the liberalized capitalist international order that you so idolize. Our coups and our imperialist conquests are committed at the behest of the international corporate conglomerates that our governments serve. America is not and has never been the linchpin cinching together the democratic free world. We toppled Allende to install Pinochet in the 70s, provided financial backing to the fascist Argentinian juntas, supplied unconditional support to Yeltsin, chief architect of the modern Russian oligarchy, and today we bankroll the genocidal apartheid Israeli regime, playing defense in the UN for the anal gang rape of Palestinian prisoners with rusty metal holes. We have set a global historical precedent for draconian drug laws, upending entire economies with gang warfare driven by the American elite's unquenchable twin desires for coke and bloodshed. We have set back progress, combating the climate crisis that threatens the imminent annihilation of life on Earth by funneling untold billions into hydraulic fracking and deforestation of old-growth forests on federal lands. The incineration of the Amazon is in service for our appetite for beef. The Israeli state is a product of Palantir, and we sponsor the dissolution of democracy internationally through armed violent coups. We sponsor the dissolution of society through the insidious arm of neoliberal austerity exercised in our name through the IMF and World Bank. These problems are not a product of America per se, but they are an inevitable outcropping of our status as the concentrated seat of the powers of capital on the global stage. We are their principal agents and benefactors. Our interests are their interests. This barbarous monstrosity, this regime of terror and destruction and death that we have created must be destroyed, and it must be destroyed now. Where power should end up and where power should resolve is in the international hands of people, of human beings, not of governments, not of corporate leaders, not of stock traders, not of the monsters who would bomb life on Earth into oblivion for another cent in their stock portfolio.
Yo, I have one question. Why are billionaires so creepy? Why are they they want to run everything, and they want to steal elections, and they want to steal more money? What happened to you, Peter Thiel and Planeteer? If you got to the point where you had enough money to do nothing else, what makes you want to take over the world? What makes you want to come up with a you think that humans should not be on the earth, or you should run the world? What happened? Even Jeff Bezos, like, what happened? Why do you have to be at the Met Gala? You weren't there, babe. You sold shit out your garage. You weren't a star. You just, what happened to just getting the money? Why is being a celebrity important? Am I doing this to be a celebrity? Fuck no, of course not. I'm trying to add my voice to the algorithms so people can think differently. That's just it. That's what I'm trying to do. If I make money from it, cool. If I don't, cool. But I'm never going to want to take over the world. I'm never going to want to come up with a system where where people have to be monitored and tracked and given a number, and maybe they'll commit a crime. That doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that? But that's like comic book villains. Why are billionaires like comic book villains? What happened? Somebody tell me what happened. I don't understand it. On to the next one. And it gets worse from here.
Why does it benefit the U.S. to defend Israel?
It advances American interests in the Middle East.
Well, what American interest does it help advance in the Middle East?
It counters the evil influence of Iran and other terrorist groups.
What are Iran and the terrorist groups doing which directly harm American interests?
They threaten American troops in the region.
Why can't American troops just leave the region and remove the threat?
They can't, because that would be abandoning Israel.
Why can't the U.S. just abandon Israel then?
They are an important U.S. ally.
Why is Israel an important U.S. ally?
It advances American interests in the Middle East.
This is the self-justifying circular logic that think tanks and corporations have devised to sell the American people on perpetual war in the Middle East, as well as to justify sending over $300 billion in aid to Israel. Politicians like Lindsey Graham often dress their allegiance up in patriotic virtue and present it as common sense foreign policy. But the reality is that the actual answer as to why the U.S. supports Israel's never-ending crusade in the Middle East is because that same crusade is fundamental to the objectives of the U.S. empire. The U.S. empire is a vast system that allows the United States to control and influence other countries without officially ruling them. It is funded by your tax dollars, yet exclusively serves the interests of Western oligarchs and corporations. And Israel is a fundamental pillar of this empire. This is because the region they occupy is referred to as a forward operating hub for the U.S. in the Middle East. Both of our intelligence services and military are deeply intertwined, and their presence in the region gives the U.S. empire a launching pad to expand its operation eastward. Since the end of World War II, the U.S. has been working to expand their global empire into the Middle East with the ultimate goal of controlling the entire region and as well as the oil beneath its surface. In order to accomplish this conquest, they must defeat the resistance in countries such as Palestine, Lebanon, and Iran. The majority of Americans wouldn't support the imperialistic goals of an empire designed to exclusively enrich Western oligarchs and corporations. Therefore, we get force-fed this circular logic and patriotic symbolism designed to justify and the destabilization of entire countries that pose no direct threat to our safety. Whether it's regime change, sanctions, or funding proxy armies, the current Iran war is the American empire's naked ambition unfolding before our eyes. Unless you're a member of the Epstein class or one of their stooges like Lindsey Graham, then you are not the beneficiary of this empire and its war crimes. So while you watch yet another Middle Eastern war scroll past your timeline, remember, this is your empire running on autopilot.
I'm gonna tell you what's weird for me though. Like, I didn't even know we had that many bases. Like, all the bases got bombed after they started bombing Iran, and all the bases got bombed, and we lost like $1 billion radar. I'm like, had no idea we had that much presence, military presence in the Middle East. I know Iraq, Syria. Why are we in Syria? I don't know. Kuwait. I know Iraq, Kuwait. But even okay. So my thing about the Israel. They have a toehold or a foothold. So basically, Iran's the last country who is not going to bow down to Israel. That's why, and they have the muscle and the will to wipe them off the face of the earth. So that's why they have been feeding us this lie all our lives about how Iran is the biggest sponsor of terror. Israel is the biggest sponsor of terror in the world, not Iran. Iran is trying to survive. Iran is like, give me a nuclear weapon, like Israel has a nuclear weapon, so we can shut them the fuck up. And they can stop committing genocide against the Palestinians. They've been taking the settlers, they've been taking their land in the West Bank. The UN knows this but won't say anything about it. For some reason, they won't say anything about atrocities committed by Israel because I don't know what happened. They're European Jews. I don't know if they feel guilty about what happened in the Holocaust or they're just scared of being called anti-Semitic. They are the biggest problem in the Middle East, and I will not stop saying that. If you open your eyes, you will see it. They have no reason to be doing anything in Lebanon at this point, and we have no reason to be supporting them with our tax dollars, and they get free health care and we don't. It doesn't make any sense. So that's I keep saying the same thing. The Democrats can still lose the election if they keep bowing to AIPAC. Period.
There is, honest to God, a resolution, bipartisan, introduced to Congress today that condemns Hassan
Bipartisan.
Piker, the Twitch streamer, for anti-Semitism. Both of these federal representatives decided that Hassan Bad was an issue so pressing it needed to be debated on the floors of fucking Congress. Mind you, how many crises are going on right now? The Iran war, the looming recession, climate change. These are just 3 of the threats that are existential to the United States' survival right now. And mind you, it's real anti-Semites out here too. But they want you to hyper-focus on a guy who says Hamas is 1,000 times better than Israel. When, by the way, if you break it down by the numbers, if such a thing were even possible, that's a massive understatement. We are in a time when those in power are making it impossible for the rest of us to have any sort of optimism in the future. But both sides of the establishment, from Fox News covering Hassan Piker 25 fucking times a day to, DNC refusing to release their 2024 report, they are both trying to fucking distract you from the obvious elephant in the room, which is a foreign policy that has been designed top to bottom to advance the Greater Israel Project, even at the jeopardization of American security. It is a ridiculous waste of time. We do not have the bandwidth to entertain these games.
Right, that's bipartisan. So that's a Democrat taking the time to give it a Republican to write something against a streamer, Hassan Piker. Now, I'm not a Hassan Piker fan. He's he's not. What is he? You can be inflammatory. Like be a streamer, you have to be inflammatory. So you say things, take it too far sometimes. I don't know, but he's not wrong. He's not wrong. And then a Democrat representative taking the time to get with a Republican for this, but can't take care of the business of getting of protecting our democracy. That doesn't make any sense to me. But it makes sense to me if you want to get some of that AIPAC money. Please look at Track AIPAC. AIPAC has an Instagram. Track AIPAC has an Instagram page too. I think I should tell you about that. Maybe next on Friday. Maybe. All right, so I think we're down to Democrats still lose. Democrats could still lose. And that's what I'm saying, though. This is not actually this isn't a Democrat-Republican thing, right? This is about a freedom thing for us. We have to be free from AIPAC and Israel, and we have to get free from the Republicans. So Democrats, if you make a choice, or it's going to be made for you. I think I got one more. Yeah, one more. So AI. So let me talk about AI for just a second. I know I've been against AI. I think the current way that AI has been sold to us is unsustainable. These data centers are crazy. See, the billionaires have the data centers, right? They're building data centers because they want to sell you AI. You can run AI on your own computer. I have downloaded an LLM on my own and run it on my computer. Gemma, that's the model. So you actually could run your own LLM or download an LLM and run it on your own server. It may cost you some money, it may be a bit slower, but you could do it without them. They have to do the training. But the number of data centers they're trying to build is just ridiculous. They're stealing water. In the middle, I don't know if it's Arizona, Montana, I don't know, someplace out there, Phoenix, I think it's Phoenix. They're stealing money. They're stealing water. They told people to ration their water, and the data center was stealing the water. All right? They have another case. Look it up. Just today, they're telling people in Nevada that they have to go without electricity because the data center needs it. How does that make sense? And these data centers aren't paid for. They can go bankrupt. Because you can run your own LLM. It's very easy. If I could do it, you could do it. That was pretty cool. I mean, it's not just that, though. I think for a tool, okay, a calculator is good, right? You can calculate numbers. AI, or whatever they want to call it, is basically just a word calculator. You put in information, it gives you the answer. That's it. It doesn't think. It can't think. It's a tool, right? And I don't know if I should do some more videos on that, but there are ways to use AI and not be in the cloud and not spend money. You can make money, but more on that another time. But just to show you how crazy it is out here.
Residents in Fayetteville, Georgia started noticing their water pressure was unusually low last year. The county told them to stop watering their lawns to conserve water. So they stopped watering their lawns. Then someone filed a public records request, and investigators found 2 industrial-scale water connections feeding a nearby data center campus. One was installed without the utility's knowledge. One wasn't even linked to a billing account. Between them, they had silently drained 29 million gallons, 44 Olympic swimming pools worth of water, gone. Georgia is currently in a drought. The governor declared a state of emergency last month over wildfires. The company, QTS, owned by Blackstone, one of the largest data center developers in the country, they owed $147,000 in back charges. They paid it. No fine, no penalty, no consequences.
Because they got money.
The county director was asked why. They're our largest customer, and we have to be partners. It's called customer service. So you were told to stop watering your lawn. They drained 44 swimming pools through connections nobody knew existed. You get a conservation notice. They get customer service.
So it's only going to get worse because we do not have the infrastructure to support these data centers. You let the data center into your neighborhood, you're going to pay a price. Period. You're going to pay a price. I don't know what to tell you. Because a lot of these data centers aren't even up to capacity. They already know the XAI for Grok down in Texas, it's not being utilized. Nobody wants to use Grok. Would you trust Elon with your information? What the hell is wrong with y'all people? So the data center, it's just like it's not gonna work. It's just not gonna work. They're gonna steal. You're a billionaire trying to prop up a business worth billions, but you want to steal water because you could. All right, this is some entertaining. This young lady's a singer. I just found her on Instagram. This is a time for hope. We're in a battle. We're in a war. We got to pick up fights. We got to relax. We got to come back at them. We got to regroup. We got to think smart.
We're told that after the war, the Nazis vanished without a trace. But battalions of fascists still dream of a master race. The history books, they tell us of their defeat at 45. And they all came out of the woodworks on the day the Nazi died. This world is riddled with maggots. The maggots are getting fat. They're making a tasty meal of all the pastors and bureaucrats. They're taking over our churches and they're filled with fat and pride. And they all came out of the woodworks on the day the Nazi died. So if you meet with these historians, I'll tell you what to say. Tell them that the Nazis never really went away.
Go ahead, girl.
They're out there burning houses and peddling racist lies, and we'll never rest again until every Nazi dies.
Now, the funny thing about this thing, check our dates out. The funny thing about that video is that they will say that's instigating violence against them, but nobody named a name. Nobody named a name, said a thing. But if you're not anti-fascist, what are you? Because we all should be anti-fascist. That was a good number. All right, one more. We're gonna do one more. We're gonna do just a little spoken word because we always have to leave on hope and some go-go. So here goes some hope.
Today, hope you decide to walk away from everything that hasn't given you peace. I hope you realize that calm waters won't come until you face them. I hope you look at your decision as a release and not a consequence. When peace is the objective, people lose you, not the other way around. I hope you prayed before you take this decision. Isolation may proceed, so you'll have to be ready for the transformation, and only God can direct you through the maze. I hope the time that you take to readjust and be anew provides you with the clearest form of thinking that gives you the courage to want more of what peace entails. I hope the people, places, and things that you once were connected to remind you of how far you've come, and you deserve a pat on the back and a celebration, because small steps should still receive that honor. I hope the peace that you've gained provides you with new people, places, and new ideas. I hope you connect with new people, and above all that, connect with God. Today, I hope you decide to walk away from everything that hasn't given you peace and curate what peace looks like to you for your own clarity, your own awareness, and your own good. Today, I just hope you attain your peace.
Amen. That's a prayer I like. I can agree with that prayer. I can come into, what do they call it? I can come into, I don't know. I can come into an agreement with that prayer, right? Because it's all on me about what I need to do. Seek peace, pursue it. It's in the Bible. That's the best thing I remember from the Bible. Seek peace, pursue it. And we want to be peaceful people, but I don't know if we're going to be allowed to be that way. All right, y'all. So that was the last for, you can see it's still happening. And it's still happening right now. There's things that are happening right now. The useful idiot is in China, and they have shown that man no respect in China. I think, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I was him, I would be like, do y'all want to hear some go-go? What y'all want to hear?
This your song, Brennan.
Okay. I'm getting ready to leave. I'll be back on Friday. Go ahead now. I'll be back on Friday, y'all. Peace out. Love you all.